Let's have a look at question 22 here. So Maria invites her two neighbors to discuss how many flowers she'll plant. Now, if they negotiate efficiently about the numbers of flowers Maria will plant, the maximum transfer payment that Maria can receive from Rick is 120 euros. Now, what's the intuition here? We know that Rick has a cost. He suffers from allergy. And we know that his cost is given over here. What was it? 1 over 4f. That's the marginal cost of Rick. So let's crop that. Let's crop that because we'll need to use it. So we have it over here, the marginal cost for Rick. Now, because this is the marginal cost, we would like to know what is the total cost of Rick. How much does it cost him to have flowers around? Well, the total cost is going to be the integral of the marginal cost. So the total cost of Rick is the integral of the marginal cost of Rick. Now, why is this the integral? Just some brief math recap. Well, because the marginal cost is the derivative of total cost, and the integral does the opposite. It does the antiderivative. So we go back to the total cost. Hope this makes sense. Now, the integral of 1 over 4f, right? That's 1 over 4f. Let's put here df as well. What's that going to be? Well, that's going to be 1 over 4 times f to the power of 2 divided by 2, and that's equal to 1 over 8 f squared. In other words, f squared divided by 8. So that will be the total cost for Rick. Now, the idea is this. Rick will suffer from flowers anyway, because Maria will plant flowers when she thinks for the society, and she'll plant flowers if she thinks only for herself. So when she thinks about the entire society, she plants 12 flowers. We saw it in the previous video. So if that happens, then f equals to 12. Now, the other case would be when Maria thinks selfishly, only for herself, and she will decide when her marginal benefit equals to her own marginal cost. Now, we know that the marginal benefit of Maria, we saw it in the previous video somewhere over here. Yes, there we have it. Let's crop this data. We have the marginal cost and we have the marginal benefit for Maria. So copy and then paste it over here like that. Now, what's that going to be? Well, 5 minus 1 over 8f, this is the marginal benefit of Maria. 5 minus 1 over 8f is equal to the marginal cost, which is equal to 1. Now, if we take 1 to the other side, so we take 1 to the other side, we'll have 5 minus 1 is equal to 1 over 8f. So 4 equals to 1 over 8f. In other words, the flowers that Maria would plant if she thinks only by herself would be 4 divided by 1 over 8, which is 4 times 8, and that's equal to 32. And we can see that there's a difference, right? There's a difference between 12 and 32. There's a difference of 20 flowers. So that would hurt Rick a lot because he would have to suffer from 20 more flowers. Now, how much would Rick be willing to pay to avoid this suffering? So at most, he would be willing to pay. He would be willing to pay to compensate for this additional cost, because the fact that Maria would plant 32 flowers would cause a cost for Rick's health. This is the cost for Rick's health, right? F squared divided by 8. So in other words, the difference in total cost for Rick would be 32 squared divided by 8 if Maria doesn't care about him, minus 12 squared divided by 8 if Maria thinks about him and decides for the entire society. Now, this difference in the total cost, this reduction in cost would be equal to 110. So this is how much Rick would benefit if Maria would plant for the social optimal. In other words, Rick would be willing to pay at most this amount. He would be willing to pay at most 110, so maximum willingness to pay, because this 110 would compensate for a reduction in his cost from the allergy. Hope this makes sense. And by the way, let's see what the answer was over here. The answer key tells us that the willingness to pay would be 120 at most. That's false. It's 110, and we are done.